sharing is caring. Didn't you know? I feel like this is going to be an odd one, and I don't know why I bother prefacing the conversation with any statements like that, because I find that generally so many of the conversations are very different from one another in just the nature that the topic changes the approach, and because I also don't do the 2-cent rants anymore, so therefore I don't really have a place for that stuff. And I think sometimes conversations like this normally would have gone in the 2-cent rants. So, sharing is caring. It is more of a rant, but I was thinking about it this morning and thought maybe I can get something out of the conversation for myself, for my own whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. It's annoying. The phrase that I hear around the house is annoying. It's generally only said by one person, which is the 3-year-old. And what's frustrating about it is that this is a learned behavior that did not start at home. Sharing is caring is a blanket statement, which is not very accurate, nor is it a good teaching device or tool, and I think is detrimental. And it's weird to take like this little toddler like cliche phrase and then turn it into like a conversation. But I mean, I guess that's the thing. Is like I was trying to think of how, in a broader sense, like what is this actually teaching? I know why I find it frustrating, and I guess let's start there. And I mean, this is something that was taught outside of the home and is getting brought into the home. And this blanket statement, like any blanket statement, is not generally good. There's no room for nuance and complexity, and those are things that I think you should start teaching immediately. We don't need to dumb everything down to such a degree that it teaches incorrect behavior. So examples of that. So I mean, let's just start with sharing is caring. Like, it's good to share. Let's share with other people around us. I think that on its face, and it's very broad face, like it's not, yeah. I think that there are good intentions behind saying like, hey, sharing is cool. Like, don't be selfish. So rather than using the negative, don't be this way, you can say just do this positive thing, which I understand why someone would want to express things that way. Don't be selfish. Rather than say that, say you can share. But sharing is caring makes it this thing of like share. Just share all the time. Like if you share, that means you care about somebody. And I don't think that not sharing means you don't care about somebody, but that's what's implied here. That's one of the issues I have with it. But also, without proper education in this simple phrase, it gets misused. And it doesn't get misused, I don't think, in this case because the child is inherently selfish. Part of it is because the application of the phrase, I mean, it's just an improper application of the sentiment to begin with because of that phrase. But also there wasn't enough education, to me, it seems, to go along with the teaching of this phrase in order to differentiate when are good times to share and when are times you don't need to share. And that it's okay to not share. And that sometimes you can say, like, no thanks. There's also times where, so, I mean, if the Lil wants to play with something or have something, whatever it is, that someone else has, sometimes she just says, sharing is caring. Like, she'll say, I want that, sharing is caring. If that person says, oh, no thanks, like, I'm using this right now. Maybe they just started using it 30 seconds ago, and then all of a sudden, Lil comes along and says, I want that, and it's like, oh, no, well, I'm playing with it right now, like, maybe later. And then she says, well, sharing is caring. And it's like, no, you can't just use that phrase to say, oh, if you don't share with me, you don't care. I don't think that's what's actually going on up here. But eventually, that connection is going to be made, like that connection's starting to get made already, because there hasn't been enough proper steps, I don't feel, in the education process here of just like, that's the thing. I just don't think we need to have these super blanket statements at times in order to try and educate a toddler and then I think it backfires. Like I think that this completely backfires. I mean, it backfires at home anyway, because then other instances, you have something, and well, I mean that's the thing. Things that you would never share in the first place. Like I have my beverage or something. Like I'm drinking out of my own cup or whatever, or I'm just doing so. I don't know. I can't even think of an example at this direct moment. It's just things, whether they be toys or something that you would never share with a toddler, electronic devices of certain kinds or things like that. And then she just whips out the like, I like to share. Like she says it in a nice way rather than saying sharing is caring. But it's like, what? But you're not sharing anything of yours. You're trying to share something of mine. It's like she asks you for something you have, and then you say, oh no, like this is for me, or like this is an adult thing, or not right now, or for whatever the reason is. There's a plethora of reasons for all these different examples and things that have happened and things that will continue to happen. And then she says, I like to share. Well, that's cool. Like, we're having to go back and like educate in a different way now, and it's really just annoying to be like, no, someone already put this in your head, and that's not the way. That's not it. Like, if you like to share, that means you are liking to share the stuff you already have. Now you're telling me that you like sharing because sharing is good and positive and wonderful and nice, and you want to share the thing that I have. Like, you're wanting me to share. Like, it's just a whole different thing of like, I like to share. It's like funny, but it's also annoying because of this misconception, miseducation, misstep of sharing is caring. It's just frustrating to have to try and dismantle that now, rather than from the very beginning say, you know, in the circumstance where she should be sharing and she's not, to say, hey, sometimes it's nice to share. And like, you've had this toy for a long time now, and now someone else wants it. Like, I don't know where sharing is caring first got introduced as this thing in her life, because that phrase is just dumb. Like, it straight up that doesn't make any sense. Obviously, when you get older and you have your own things, you should be allowed to have your own things, right? That's like saying, I have my own room and I should be entitled to privacy in my drawers and my, whatever, a keepsake box or my journal or whatever. You can just waltz in there and start going through my stuff and say, well, sharing is caring. You should share all your things. Like, no, there's a point where you do have your own things, your private things. And obviously you get there through time. But I just don't think that, like, starting off with saying, hey, you are entitled to everything. You are also entitled to everything that I have because sharing is caring. And, like, no, if I don't want to share my private things with you, that doesn't mean that I don't care. That means that I care about myself. And I have a right to that privacy. And, like, if you have one single toy between two people or more, then yes, sharing is great. Or, like, we've got the ketchup on the table. Here's the ketchup. It's communal ketchup. It's meant for everybody. It's not like I have my own and you have your own and you have your own. No, like, I think that some people may, when I have this salty attitude about it, may draw this up to me being an only child, and I just think that's silly. Because again, I think everyone feels they have an entitlement and a right to privacy and private things and ownership of certain things that they wouldn't like other people to just, use, even if they ask. Because sharing has nothing to do inherently with caring about somebody. You can choose not to share something and still care about that person and say, no, I just started using this thing, or I would like to continue using this thing, or this thing isn't even meant for you. Like, you might break this thing, you don't know how to use this thing. You don't even know what this thing is. Like, me choosing not to share it with you has nothing to do with how much I care about you. Period. Doesn't matter if this is a conversation between adults or whatever else. Obviously, you can be really selfish in times too, like, and just be like, and therefore you could be uncaring of someone if you choose to not share something with them when it's appropriate to share. That's like me saying, like, no, the ketchup's mine, you don't get any. Well, that's silly too. Like, obviously that's me being really selfish and uncaring, but I just don't understand why we can't begin when a child is a toddler age or whatever and can understand language even before understanding language in a verbal sense. There's body language and there's other things and whatever else. That I don't understand why we can't start with nuance. Start with explaining things with the real reason. It's just like when people say because. I tried to never do that. Sometimes it's frustrating to have to answer question after question after question. When you say, hey, I need you to do this, or hey, please don't do that right now, or can you get off this thing, or don't, whatever. Like, oh, this is why. Like, because it's going to make this dirty, because it's going to break this thing, because, and then you have to go how many steps deep into it. I understand the urge, but you got to fight past the urge to say, because. I don't want you to. Like, that's not a reason. I hated that as a child, and I wouldn't want that to be something that I would perpetuate, in this role now of just being like, because. Well, no, not just because. Just like, explain why, and I want to do that so there is an understanding. Because if there is no understanding, then why would that person want to? I mean, if they don't see the value in the thing that I'm telling them, then they would just do it when I'm not there. They would just think what I'm saying it's like a power trip, and it's not about having a power trip. It's about no, this is why we do this thing, whatever. Again, a proper education and teaching and parenting and whatever else. Sharing is caring is a silly phrase. I don't know how many more of those there are in her vocabulary. I mean, that's the one that I hear that frustrates me the most anyway. That's just like a stock like phrase to pull out when she wants something. Like, she's using it improperly. That's the thing. She is great at sharing when people ask for something she has. That's not a problem. It's the problem that when she wants something you have, and I think more often than not, she asks for it, and either it's an inappropriate thing, or it's an inopportune time, or whatever it is, and you have to say no. It's when she pulls out, sharing is caring, or I like to share, and it's like, cool. But no, like, that's not, there's things that are meant for you, there's things that aren't, whatever. Anyway, that is a little more lighthearted than last week's conversation. I looked at my shirt because I realized I'm, still representing last week's conversation. But yeah, sharing is caring thing. I don't know. Like, again, this is more of a rant, and I didn't know how much I would really get to the bottom of by expressing my frustration with this. But I guess I'm just reinforcing to myself the patience that is needed to explain things and whatever else. And unfortunately, in this case, the need to undo somebody else's good intentions or not, lack of commitment to give someone the full picture, the entire picture, to assume perhaps that someone isn't capable of understanding that or whatever else. And again, childhood development and things like that, certain kids of a certain age don't have enough cognitive ability to understand and comprehend all the things we're trying to teach them. But I don't think that means we just go with what's easier. It means that there's baby steps and scaffolding that needs to happen to get from here to here. And we don't just go to over here instead and be like, that's just easier, let's just say that, and therefore it'll solve a lot of problems, because it creates other problems. Anyway, see you at another time.